Hey guys, welcome to the Girl Take No podcast. I'm your host, Shani Sanders, and today I have with me Amy Terry. She is the partner and manager broker at 8Z Real Estate based out of Colorado, and I'm excited to have this conversation with her. How are you doing, Amy?
I'm so good, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, this is good. We get to know all about, Colorado is definitely one of those states that I want to visit because it's so beautiful. So I got to make sure I get out there. I actually have a brother that just, I don't know what part he is in. He's just retired there from the military.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So I definitely got to get out there. So listen, before we jump into your career and all the stuff I need to ask, give me the story behind the brand. Kind of tell me your backstory in terms of how long you've been in real estate and what made you decide to say, hey, I want to go ahead and start 8Z.
My journey to real estate was sort of a reluctant one. I worked at RE/MAX in high school just answering phones, and then started college and got a job at the local RE/MAX office there, answering phones as well. Was pre-law, had planned to go to law school, wanted to do criminal prosecution. That was always the plan. But during college, I worked as an assistant for a broker that I really respected. Mm-hmm. And when I got my law school acceptance, I didn't tell anybody for like 2 weeks, and I felt like this may be a sign that this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I went to my boss because I just really respected him and said, what do you think? Mm-hmm. And he said, it's such a huge commitment if you're not sure. Why don't you do a year deferment? He's like, I really could use your help, get your real estate license, and we'll see what happens. And that was 18 years ago. And it's been just kind of took off and has been a wild ride since. And then as far as so I started out at RE/MAX, we stayed at RE/MAX. Mm-hmm. As far as starting the actual brokerage, we started the brokerage the end of 2009. Mm-hmm. So right after the market crash. And really our driver and the purpose behind it is we felt like real estate was broken. We felt like it was broken for agents. We felt like it was broken for consumers. And the best way we could start making a change was to start our own brokerage. And then the name, I will be honest, it's taken me time to really grow and love the name, but
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah. The basis behind it is all the zip codes in Colorado start with the number 8.
Okay.
So that's how we came up with 8Z. We are Colorado based right now. I don't foresee us ever branching out. We kind of like being a homegrown company. And we have about 200 agents statewide at this point.
That's awesome. I was looking on the website, beautiful properties in Colorado.
Yes.
It definitely is. You know what? I always want to know, because I hear people talk about real estate agent and broker, you know what I mean? Which are not the same, because I think us people who are not really familiar with the terminology think it's all the same. But kind of tell us the difference between the two and what they do.
Sure. So a real estate agent has the license as an individual. And in Colorado, you have to be under somebody else for at least 2 years. And then at that point, you can go off on your own if you'd like. So a real estate agent is someone either working under someone else or they've been doing it at least long enough to be out on their own and they're just working with buyers and sellers. A real estate broker has a managing broker's license and is actually managing other agents and building a team. So just kind of adding to their portfolio. A lot of brokers traditionally don't sell anymore. They just manage. I actually still have a book of clients that I work with, so I'm still doing both. I kind of feel like you need to be in it day in and day out to be relevant and give really good advice. Yeah. So that's why I just haven't stopped selling. But that's kind of the primary difference. And someone can have a broker's license and not actually manage anybody. I don't know why you'd go through the trouble to get it, but that's really the difference. And some people do use them interchangeably, but that is the difference.
Is there because I look at all the real estate shows, so I'm always looking at those property shows. Is there one of them that can negotiate with the loan officers, or is there a part of that process where there's one person? I don't think the real estate agent does it. You're sent off to another person that kind of does like the negotiation part. That's not what the broker does, right?
No. So the broker, the broker is primarily managing, but there are also team setups. So there are some companies that are set up as a team where you've got, we call them the rainmaker. They're the one that their name is really out there. They're procuring most of the listings. And then they have showing agents that just do showings. Yeah. And then that agent then it goes to the bigger agent and they do the actual negotiations and everything. So there are several different setups. Our brokerage is set up that your agent is your agent, and that's who your primary contact is. They'll be the ones showing you property. They will be the ones negotiating on your behalf. They'll be with you through the whole process. But there are several different setups where some agents only list, and some agents only work with buyers, and some agents only show, but then don't do any of the negotiations. Okay. So there are a lot of different scenarios that you can have in a real estate brokerage.
Which side of it do you like being on, being that you've been on both and you do one now, but you've been on both? Which side excites you the most?
I would say, so as far as the business as a whole, I think the mentoring side of it, I enjoy the most at this point in my career. As far as working with clients, thank God, I still really enjoy looking at property. So I think it's really, I still think house hunting is super fun. And I really love helping people find the right home and then negotiating the deal. Listings are fun. They're a different animal. They've been really fun in Colorado the last few years where, you know, we've got 10, 20 offers that you're negotiating on one house. But yeah, at the core, I still really like working with buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you, me and my friends, we call it going dreaming. We love to go and look at other like big properties and real estate. Actually, the home that I'm in, my best friend brought me to this home because she didn't want to start me off with the whole let's go dreaming kind of thing. Yes. And she brought me over here and I was just blown away. And that's why I'm in the house that I'm in now, is because she brought me over here to go dreaming. And I just love real estate. I love looking at properties and stuff like that, you know? And so I'm just like, I feel like this is me and my husband probably first investment, and we'll eventually buy something more. And we're in the Maryland and DC area.
Okay.
And so it's just a fun thing to be. So I'm like, you have to be into like, you know, just being able to look at homes and the properties and know all the it's such a detailed job that you have to be able to do when it comes to being a real estate agent, to be able to sell something. Like you almost have to know what type of, you got to know what countertops these are. You got to really be into it when it comes to just knowing how to sell. Is there an art to it when you become a real estate agent that you have to, there has to be an art to? I feel like real estate agents are the best sellers versus out there to me.
Sure.
When it comes to homes.
I think the biggest shift for me was, honestly, I had a hard time going from, you know, I always thought I was going to be an attorney. Yeah. And then shifting to a salesperson. And I really, you know, honestly, I had some people that were like, you're wasting your intelligence. Why would you go into real estate?
Oh my God, of course.
And so it took me a while to adjust to that. But I think the biggest difference in when my business really shifted is when I changed my mindset that I'm not a salesperson, I'm a consultant. And that's really the reality. We're not selling anything. We're helping people find the right property and navigating the process for them. And you know, navigating the contract process, make sure that you're advocating for them, you're avoiding pitfalls. I mean, I don't need to walk in and like, I have a client who we were looking at houses and we walked in and she looks at me and she goes, okay, what's wrong with this house, Amy? And I'm like, am I that bad? And she's like, well, I feel like my job really is to point out the things they're not going to notice. Like, yes, you're going to notice the gorgeous countertops, but you're not going to notice all the windows need to be replaced. Oh yeah. So that's really where I feel like my role is. And I think it builds so much trust with people because I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm really trying to help you find what's best for you and your family. You're right. And that's really when, you know, that's what gets me fired up, is helping people and serving. And so when I shifted that mindset of like, I'm not selling anything, I'm guiding them through this process, you know, everything really changed. You're right. I like that because that's exactly what my agent did for us. It's like she really guided us through it all and it helped us with when it came to the financing part of it, kind of helped us through that piece. Like you're really with your clients every step of the way. So that's a really good, I like that mindset around it. Do you get those clients where, because I think I was like this client too. Did you get those clients that kind of like fall in love with that house that they know they can't afford, and then you got to try to convince them to say, hey, well, this is your budget now, remember that? Because I am that girl, Amy. I am her. I was her, definitely 100%. Yeah. I mean, I really try to avoid letting people even see things that they can't afford. So, I mean, that is number one, is we're going to get you with the lender and get you pre-approved. And it's not how much they qualify for. It's what do you want your monthly payments to be? That is where people are probably the most sensitive. And that's where I'm like, then that gives us a gauge of what price range we should be looking in. And then as much as possible, I'm not going to show them something because it's so hard. I did it early in my career where I would just show people what they wanted to see. Yeah. And then when we got down to brass tacks of what they could afford, it is really hard to go down like $100,000 and like anything when you've been looking at stuff that's way nicer. So that's a huge pitfall I really try to avoid for their sake and mine. It's just a lot of heartache and brain damage trying to go backwards. But to your point about when you said, you know, your friend just took you to see that house, I call them just for fun searches.
Oh yeah.
I have any of my clients, I'm like, what is your dream neighborhood? Where do you want to end? And I have these just for fun searches set up, and I will go show them if they, you know, something comes up. One, I enjoy it. Two, I think it is fun to dream, and it's a mindset piece of like visualizing yourself there.
Yeah. Manifestation.
And you'd be shocked how many just for fun houses I end up selling.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love it. It really does let you, it open your mindset up, and also you are inspired. It inspires you to do more and want bigger things, and just to know that you can have it. You know what I mean? So it really does shift the mindset, and I advise everybody to kind of go do it. How has the journey been for you? Because you started out at 16, right? You started out early. How has the journey been for you in real estate? Especially, I know then it was probably very male driven.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah. Well, and gosh, it's, you know, so when I was 16, what was that, like 1999, 2000? It seemed so archaic to how it is now. I mean, there was literally still an MLS book.
Yes.
There wasn't, you know, listings weren't online. The agents had to look through a book. We would, I mean, that's why we needed front desk people, is like when faxes came in, we had to call agents and say, you know, you just got an amendment, or so it seems, so that has been a huge journey. Even when I started selling real estate, there was no GPS. So I remember I used to have to map quest from house to house.
Do you remember MapQuest?
Yes. And then I was screwed. If clients wanted to skip a house, I didn't know how to get to the next house without. So I'd be like, oh, well, let's just drive by and make sure you don't want to see it, because I want to be like, I don't know how to get to that house.
Exactly.
So the technology journey has been phenomenal, like getting e-contracts, getting GPS, getting listings online. And it was scary at the time. Agents were really scared of empowering clients that they could now see everything.
Yeah.
You know, when I started, there was no Zillow, there was no Redfin, there was no websites. But really, I really truly believe if your value is emailing a listing to a client, like, do better. Yeah. Like, your value should be so much more as far as navigating the process and negotiating. It's not finding, you know, this listing for them. So that has been a huge evolution, and I think it's allowed good agents to do higher volume because you can just do so much quicker.
Yeah.
And then it's, again, I didn't see myself in that career, and then I also didn't see myself as a leader. And I'm really grateful that my mentor has constantly pushed me to get out of my comfort zone, and he saw things in me that I didn't. And he pushed me to become a managing broker. He pushed me to become a partner in the brokerage. And I get to make a lot of big decisions and shape the culture of our company. And so I feel really, really fortunate that I was empowered by the leadership in my company.
That's really good, because I mean, I think in corporate America overall, we're still dealing with seeing women in leadership positions. You know what I mean? We're still fighting that good fight. And so to be at the top where you are and being able to now to mentor other women and to help them kind of, you know, pave their career and try to get them to where they need to be, I think it's just absolutely amazing. And you're right. You started off during a time where nothing was available to you. Right? It was just all very manual work, you know, and now today it has evolved so much where it's gotten to a point where a lot of people do a lot of the work themselves. You know, a lot of people still do, but I still feel like real estate agents will always be here simply because we don't know how to really navigate that process. You know, we just don't. And as a normal consumer, we don't necessarily want to. You know what I mean? We want people who are experienced in it, who can really help us get through it, help us get the best rates. You know, let's kind of talk about the market today, because a lot of people would tell you, like, it's not the right time to buy. The interest rates are too high. It's not the right time to sell. You know, you should definitely wait and let's watch in the market and see how it goes, because we look at prices just for rental. They're so expensive, you know? And I'm just like, well, definitely me and my husband are not selling right now. We want a bigger home, but we're going to wait because they got us scared to do it. So what are your thoughts on the current market?
So first of all, there is no timing the market perfectly. I've been doing this for 18 years. And if I knew how to do that, I would be a multimillionaire. The reality is once a market has really shifted, it's too late. Like So I always tell clients, really time it with your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then when people are asking, how's the market? It's much more nuanced that it's like, what market are you talking about? Are you talking about the luxury market? Are you talking about the mountains and second homes? Are you talking about the Denver metro? So it's very nuanced. And I will be very upfront with people if I think it's a good time for them to make a move or not. The reality is, like, the majority of my sphere group, I just turned 40. So everyone is...
Hey, welcome to the 40 club.
Thank you. It's been an adjustment.
I know it has. Trust me, when I hit 40, I was like, what's going on?
It's so surreal. It's like how I feel like I'm 28. How am I 40? But yeah, the majority of my sphere group, they're in like similar situation as you. Like, they're in a home. They're probably in a great interest rate. And it, for them to make the leap for their next step, it doesn't make sense. Their payment is going to jump so much. Yeah. So those people, I'm like, you know what, hold tight. Probably not. Someone who has cash, fantastic time to buy, especially in Colorado. This is the best time to buy in the last 5 years because you can actually negotiate. I mean, I don't know how crazy it was in other markets, but here people were waiving inspection, appraisal. They were bidding $150,000 over asking. Wow. So if someone isn't sensitive to the interest rate, now's a great time to jump in the market and get a deal. And then first-time home buyers, I'm really hammering anyone that I know that doesn't own. As cheesy as it sounds, rent is 100% interest. So the 6.5% is not that bad. And the reality is too, when I bought my first place at 22. My interest rate was 7. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you look at what rents are, so I think it depends on the person. It depends on their life circumstances. And we're definitely, as a brokerage, we're kind of talking to our agents. 2020 and 2021 was bonkers. And it was people that were moving just because they wanted to. Yeah. Now the market is people that are moving because they need to.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a smaller pool of people making moves right now. But it doesn't necessarily mean... It like I said, it's very nuanced. It depends. Like, are you going to be here for 10 years or are you maybe going to move in 3 years? All of that makes a difference in the decisions that you make.
Yeah. That's good information. I like that. You're so, you're right when it comes to if you're renting already, it's kind of like it's what you're paying currently. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be that much of an adjustment. But for me, my interest rate is super low. It'd be a big adjustment for me and my husband to make that move right now. I like that. That's good advice.
And what I would tell you and your husband, which is what I've done with all of my properties, especially if you have a low interest rate, because when interest rates go up, rents go up.
Yeah.
I try to talk all my clients into keeping their first property. So I would look at what you guys could potentially rent it for.
Yeah.
The rent may be enough to supplement the new payment. So now you've upgraded homes, you've got a rental property, and you've got the same monthly bills.
Oh, that's true.
The numbers don't always work out, but every seller I meet with, I'm like, let's run the rental numbers and see. Because I'm all about long-term wealth and lifelong clients.
Yeah.
So if I lose one listing at that moment, I know that I'm helping them build, generational wealth. And it also, right away, people, when it clicks, like, oh, you're talking yourself out of a deal, they ultimately, then they trust you because, I'm like, this isn't about me. This is about how I'm going to help you build wealth.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and sometimes people are like, no, we don't want a rental. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want 2 mortgages. We don't, like, some people would rather have the peace of mind. I'm all about leverage, and that's how I've built my portfolio of rentals. But yeah, that's also something I'm looking at when people do want to upgrade, but they're like, well, we don't want to give up the interest rate. And I'm like, well, don't give it up. Keep that as a rental. You'll never replace that house for what you bought it for. You'll never get that interest rate again, especially on a rental property. So if anyone ever has ambitions to own rentals, that is the easiest way to do it. It's just to keep your primary and then upgrade.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. I like that. Nobody said that to us, but that makes plenty of sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, some people don't have the stomach for it.
Yeah.
But if you're open to that, it can be huge.
Yeah. Because we're in a really good area, too. A lot of families want to move to good school districts as well.
Yeah.
For the kids. So, yeah, that's good. I like that.
Good.
So, listen, today I have almost every friend I know is either in real estate as a side job or even trying to get their real estate license now. It is such a lucrative business today. Not to say that I think it's never been, but today it just seemed like so many more people want to do it, and a lot of people are really looking to do it, and they're talking a lot about, I've been hearing a lot of conversation around multifamily properties. And they're saying that, hey, you want to build generational wealth, you need to get into more multifamily properties. What are your thoughts on that?
So I will disagree with that, which is not a popular opinion. I still think the absolute best investment you can ever make is a single family home. And, you know, big corporations like BlackRock will show you they're spending billions and they're buying single family homes. They appreciate quicker than anything else. They typically cash flow better. And multifamily is great. It's not a bad opportunity, but it's typically very expensive. Like in Colorado, if you want 2 to 3 to 4 units, you're looking at probably at least $800,000-900,000 up to a couple million. So it's just not attainable. And really, I just break down like how much are you paying per door, and does that make sense? I don't think multifamily is the end all be all. I primarily invest in single family homes. I think they'll always be in demand. They appreciate quicker. So that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, I hear so much conversations around it to the point where I was like telling my husband, like, should we think about it? Should we have a conversation around maybe a multifamily unit? Because so many people are talking about it and saying that, hey, it's just such a great way to build wealth. And, you know, because that's what real estate is for a lot of people, is that route to generational wealth, you know, wealth building. So that's good to know that you're on the opposite end of that. That's interesting.
Yeah. And part of it is because there is so much conversation about it.
Yeah, it is.
There's more demand. It's driving up those prices. I think, you know, and if anything, like I joke with my property manager, teases me that my properties are way too nice. I personally don't buy anything I wouldn't live in myself.
Yeah.
So my appreciation has been really great on my properties. I have a colleague who we tease as a slumlord, and he's got a ton of units and not a great neighborhood. He cash flows better than I do, but he's got to evict people. He's got to constantly replace carpet. He's got to constantly. And he's not seeing the same neighborhood appreciation because I'm buying in good areas. So it also depends on what your goals are. Like ultimately you want cash flow and appreciation, but ultimately you kind of have to choose which one's more important. And for me, I want the long-term equity. Even if I'm just breaking even, rents go up every year. So eventually you will start cash flowing.
Yeah. If you look over your career and you say to yourself, wow, I really wish I can do that over, what part of it you think you would want to do over? Gosh, I wish I knew this then. I would have made a different decision.
I don't know if there's like if there was like a fork in the road that I would have gone differently, but I will say my first couple, like probably 2-3 years, I cried so much.
Are you
like
serious?
I remember, and I was 22. I was fresh out of college. I was living with some of my guy roommates or guy friends that I grew up with. And I remember vividly them being like, I don't think real estate's for you. Cause I just was always in tears. So I think I wish I had known sooner that don't take everything so personally. Typically it's not about you. Whatever is going on with their, you know, they're not finding a house or they choose a different agent or whatever. And then just finding my own confidence. Like the moment I realized my clients are lucky to have me, one, because I'm knowledgeable, and two, I truly have their best interest at heart, my business exploded. And it was just that mindset of believing in myself and having the confidence. Then all of a sudden they believed in me. And I will say that's the biggest thing mentoring between failure and success is, do they believe in themselves, and is their mindset in the right place? Because I've got people that will do all the right things tactically, but if they're not there emotionally and mentally, it won't happen. It just won't click.
Yeah, you know, it's so crazy how confident comes up in every conversation that I have, no matter who I talk to. Because as humans, you know what I mean, we are our biggest critics. We self-doubt ourselves more than anybody else do. And you're right. And it comes to our mindset and shifting our way of thinking. And I began to get into a lot of manifestation affirmations past month or so, which is like, people have been doing it for years. I'm like, yeah, I'm into it now, guys. But I really haven't. I can really say that it has really boosted my confidence in what I do. It has really gave me a lot of clarity, you know, and direction in what I'm doing. And so I agree 100%. Like, we have to work on our mindset. And I was just going to ask that question, like, what type of mindset or what type of confidence you have to be a real estate agent, you know what I mean? Because you're the focal point. People are looking at you, depending on you. Yeah. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Well, and with my newer agents, I don't know the statistics everywhere, but in Colorado, the average person knows 11 agents. Like you mentioned, everybody's got their license.
Yeah.
How do you be the one that they choose to work with out of those
Yes.
11? And the biggest piece is, would you choose yourself? Do you believe you're the best option for them? Because if you don't feel that, they're not going to feel that.
That's true.
So do whatever you need to do to build that, whether it's confidence building or experience or mentorship or reading or meditation or energy work or whatever you need to do to get in that space, because that's going to make or break it.
Yeah. What are some of the myths about being a real estate agent that you kind of hear and just laugh to yourself about?
Yeah. That it's easy money. I think that's the biggest, like,
That's what a lot of people say.
Yes. I have yet to hire someone and they've been like, this is easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I think, and also the other big myth is, I just want to do it for the flexibility.
Oh, yes. Yes, I've heard
the reality
that
is you have
before.
zero flexibility because you were on call 24/7. If you want to, if you want to be successful, you've got to be available when people are ready to do something. And especially as a manager, I have to be available all the time, because if my agents are in a crisis and need to figure out something, I've got to be available for them.
Yeah.
So the idea that if you want to be a part-time agent and do a couple deals a year, sure. But yeah, there's not a lot of flexibility. Like, I've never been on a vacation and not worked.
People say that it's flexible. You get to make your own hours. You get to work it when you want to.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money. That's what I mean. A lot of people are in it because they're like, a lot of money is in it. You can sell a home and make X amount from it. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't tell people the process of actually trying to sell that home or get that buyer to get into that home.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and so in Colorado, the cycle is 2 years to renew your license. Less than 50% of agents renew it after that first 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
So that tells you it's not easy.
Yeah. So it's a lot harder to build a career than you think. And it partly is because the market is so saturated. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm honestly, I don't mean to sound hateful about it, but that's what I'm most excited about this market shift, is that I know buyers and sellers are going to be more discerning, because you can no longer just put a sign in the yard and hope for the best. And so I think a lot of people are going to get out of the industry. They'll let their license lapse. And for us that do this as full-time professionals, those onesie-twosie deals add up. When they're like, oh, well, we're going to use our cousin who just got their license. Yeah. And inevitably, too, I still get called through the whole process because their cousin doesn't know what they're doing. And then they're like, well, what should we do? And I still I'm still happy to help. But it's like, you probably should have just hired me to start with.
Probably should hire the ones who do this on a full-time basis, because you're right. A lot of people are going to get their license today. And that's just what they do. I don't know why so many people are in real estate, but they love it. And I always knew that it wasn't a thing for me. Like, I'm just a person that loves to look at the beautiful homes and dream about living in them and owning them one day.
And I think that's where people want to get into it, because it's a fun industry. It's very stressful, but it can be a lot of fun. And it's relatable. Everybody lives in a house, whether you own it or you rent it, or everybody can relate to real estate. And that's why when I hire new agents, that's the first question I ask is, why are you interested in real estate or getting into a career in real estate? And that gives me a good gauge if they have any clue what it's actually going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you become successful in this career? What are some of there's a few of the key things that you should have to be successful in it?
Yeah. So my company as managing brokers, we talk a lot about, as far as hiring and recruiting, like, what is the common theme among the successful ones? Number one is hustle. You just have to hustle. You don't have a boss. You don't have anyone micromanaging you. You've just got to get up and grind every day and build that business. So I would say hustle and self-motivation. You've got to just get up and do it. There's no one that's going to push you. It's an eat what you kill business. And if you don't do any work, you're not going to get paid. And that's the good and bad about it. Like, you look in industries where people work their tails off and they're making money for their boss. Yeah. This is a situation you get to work hard for yourself. The other piece, I think, is confidence. We already kind of touched on that. I think you really need to have confidence. And then another big piece is you have to have a why. I think there's a very small percentage of people that are super driven by just the commission check. So to keep doing this and stay motivated, and my why has shifted a lot. When I first started, it was to travel. Every deal, I was like, this is a vacation I can take. I really want to see the world. So I had a globe on my desk, and that was when I didn't feel like making calls or I didn't feel like working. That was my motivation. So you got to have I think you have to have a bigger why to keep, because it's an exhausting grind and it's a lot of rejection and it's a lot of, so I think you have to have a bigger why of, what you're doing, why you're doing this and why you're doing it this way in this industry. Because there's a lot of ways to build wealth. So if it's just about money, I think it'll get old pretty quick.
Yeah. How do you deal with the rejection? Like, how do you get your agents to say, it's a part of the job. You can't, like I said, can't take it personally, but still it can kind of sting.
Yeah. And that's partly why, I cried so much my first couple of years. So part of it is that you have to just build thick skin.
Yeah.
The other part that's unique, I think, for me, and I'm really grateful for, is right out of college, I also worked as a victims advocate for the police department.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to, originally I wanted to go into criminal prosecution and social work.
Yes.
So yeah, when I was out at 1 a.m. giving a death notification or sitting with a rape victim or a domestic violence situation, someone losing a house or a refrigerator is not included in your argument, it just puts it into perspective. So I remind that a lot with my agents of like, the wins are great and the losses stink, but you got to just move on really quickly either way. Like at the end of the day, we're not saving lives here. Yeah. So part of that is just putting it in perspective. And I always kind of use the 5-year rule. Like, are you even going to remember this in 5 years? If not, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. Yeah. That's kind of, but yeah, it honestly, it just takes some time. And it also, like I said, it really helped. I try to remind them that 99% of the time, it's not about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rejection or the decision-making is something besides you personally.
Yeah.
So try not to take it personal.
Yeah. I know. Cause I'm like, I know that could be kind of like a sting, or either have there been times where you've gone through this process? Has there been time when you've gone through the process and then all of a sudden the buyer is no longer qualified? And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't put all this work into this deal and now it's not going through anymore.
Stuff falls apart for all kinds of deal. Right now that it's 30% of deals fall apart.
Oh, wow.
So I learned very quickly to not count on that check until the day of closing. Because I've had all kinds of things over the years. You have, a buyer lose their job between contract and closing. Oh, yeah. I've had a house get completely flooded the day before closing. I've had, we've had huge storms come through and all the roofs need to be replaced, or there's fires, or buyers just straight up change their mind. So you definitely can't count on that check until it's in your bank account. And again, you have to kind of, and I'm grateful. I'm in a place in my career that I'm not stressed paycheck to paycheck, and my business is very consistent. But I remember what it felt like to be really, really need that closing and it fall apart. But we have a saying within the industry, or I'm sorry, within our company, that we always say, if we ever find out you're representing the deal and not the client, you're gone. Oh, wow. So we want to make sure people are in a good place financially so that that's not clouding their judgment. Because it's hard. Sometimes, the best advice we're giving our clients is not in our best interest. But that's very important to us as a brokerage, that you are doing what's best for your client, not keeping the deal together because you need a check. Yeah. Doing what's right for the client. So I always tell people, come into the industry with 6 months reserves and always have that 6 months reserves so that you don't, we call it commission breath. When we don't want you to feel that anxiety with clients, I really need this closing. And it happens, but it's a hard, it takes a lot of time. It took me probably 5 or 6 years to build consistent income.
Yeah. You know what I think it is too, is that we look at shows like the Oppenheim Group and, the, Selling LA, and we look at all these different Selling Sunset, and it just looks to be such an exciting career because you get big commissions, but people don't really, we only see such a small piece of it with these shows. We don't necessarily see the real work that kind of goes into it. And a lot of these agents are very established that we already see. We don't see the new up and coming person. And if they are, they work for these big, so in my mindset, I'm thinking, so they work for these big brokerage firms, I guess. Right. And then if they're new and they're not getting properties, they will probably throw some clients their way. It's kind of like how it is on TV, but I don't know if it's really like that.
No. And even yesterday, I've been doing this 18 years. I spent 2 hours yesterday cleaning a kitchen because we had photography this morning and the cleaners didn't do a good job. So I'm over there oiling cabinets, mopping the floor. Yeah, I mean, that's not the stuff you see on TV. And I also love on TV that they are able to negotiate and get a deal put together in 10 minutes because everybody answers the phone and everybody's responsive, and it's
what? Everybody looks super glamorous all the time.
Yeah, it's a lot of eating in my car. It's a lot of it's really, I think really good agents, it's not that glamorous. You're doing so much more behind the scenes.
Yeah, but TV really does glamorize it. I can't even. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, oh, AZ must be like that. You know, it's all hustle and bustle.
I mean, and we have days that are glamorous when you're closing a luxury property and you're getting you're at this gorgeous title company, and or we're doing production shoots and videos for social media, and so there are definitely some glamorous days, and there's definitely some ego in real estate. I mean, it is. Yeah. There's some showmanship to it for sure. Oh, yeah. But there's also just a lot of crap behind the scenes. It's not fun.
So be ready for it, guys. You got to know it. You know, let me ask you this. With the being that you've been in it so long and you've seen the market shift in so many different ways, grow in terms of technology, we're only getting more smarter when it comes to AI technology. Where do you see the market going? We already have, like I said, Redfin and all those other things that a lot of people can kind of look for homes on their own and really do this process themselves, they feel like, right? Yeah. So where do you see the industry going in terms of the technology that's coming out?
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, it's changing constantly, and that's one thing I'm grateful for. Our founder is a computer science guy.
Oh,
he went to Stanford for computer science. So he got into the industry knowing how much it was going to change in the late 1990s. I was like the late 1900s, the late 1990s. So it is constantly shifting, and I'm grateful that I'm at a brokerage that, you know, he's no longer in the day-to-day stuff. His job is that he is constantly paying attention and vetting what's coming down the pike. And we just started using AI for all of our listing descriptions, and it is great. It saves so much time. It's better than I would write. I don't foresee our role ever going away. There's been so many disruptors that have come through, and even the last couple years with like Open Door and Zillow, where they were making offers on houses and stuff. My clients were still calling me to help them discern if this was a good offer. Is this what they should be doing? You know, it's for most people, it is the largest asset that they own. So I think the majority of people are still going to want guidance and some hand holding through that process. But I think it will forever it's gotten so much easier over the years as far as what you can accomplish in a short amount of time with technology. You know, things like virtual staging. I'm not a fan of virtual staging, but like there's just so many things that are constantly coming out. And I do think we have such an instant gratification in so many parts of our life. I do think it's going to become much more common with selling houses that you have an option, sort of like trading in a car versus selling a car yourself. I think we're going to see a lot more programs where sellers just take a lower cash offer to be done with it, not have to merchandise their house, not have to deal with showings. We already have some programs in house where we can go pay cash for your next dream home and then buy your house back. So I think that will be the next big shift, is that fewer people are going to traditionally sell and buy. People just they like a sure thing, and they like it to be done quickly. And it's just like, how many people take the time to go get their car detailed and sell it on their own versus going to a dealership and trading it in.
That's true.
So I think that will be a big shift in the next 5 to 10 years.
Because, you know, AI is just like taking over in everything that we do, you know, when it comes to self-driving cars. I mean, it's just everywhere. And I was just having this conversation the other day, and I was just like, AI is really, if we look at it, computers have took over certain jobs already that have become obsolete, you know, and I just know things are only going to get more and more convenient. But as humans, we crave interaction with other humans. We crave that human interactions. And like you said, I don't think the agents themselves are never going to go away, because we still like to trust people, you know? But it's also still not at a point where it can be a free for all. Like same thing with Open Door. They were buying houses, but they also, you didn't have to have an agent to see their listings. So what they did is they had an app you could download, and then you could open the locks on the doors. Well, very quickly you get scam artists. And people were getting in, taking photos, putting these houses up for lease, showing them as a rental, collecting application process, like all this stuff. They didn't own the house. Oh my God.
Kids were getting in and throwing parties. So when you think about eliminating a showing agent, I can't foresee a way that would work securely enough that, that would ever be a possibility that you wouldn't need an agent to actually show you a house either.
Yeah. I don't think that's the way to go. I hope we never get to that point.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't want to get to a point where a robot is showing me a house.
Yes.
I never want to get there.
Yes.
I'm definitely not ready for that. What advice would you give someone looking to start in this business? What advice would you give them?
I would say definitely have 6 months reserve. So be ready to do this. And I know it's very scary, but make the leap and do it full time. I think for people that get their license and they're going to do it part time, it's such a hard business to get started in. If you don't have that sink or swim, you're not going to swim. If you have that safety net of another paycheck, I just don't see how you're going to jump in full force and actually build a really successful career. So I think save up money, be ready to do it, jump in. And really the hardest part about it is, it's not rocket science. The hardest part is the people part. So you've got to be ready to network. You've got to be ready to be someone that people trust, and find a good mentor. Find someone that can help you with the real estate side of it and the nuance of it, because I see deals all the time that something's brand new, 18 years in. There's always a weird thing. So find someone that can help you navigate that process, and then get really clear on your why. Why are you doing this? What is your motivation? And then just jump in and do it. The biggest thing I see with my new people is the people that are just willing to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
It is a people business. You've got to get, and I'm actually naturally an introvert. So it's I have to.
That must have been a hard career for you.
It was a tough. I've adjusted a lot. I think I'm more of a outgoing introvert at this point. But yeah, my natural tendency is I'm happy to just stay home all weekend. You got to be out and about with different people all the time, because the reality is people will end up transacting with the person they saw most recent.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're someone's agent, you're their agent for life. But most people, it's like who they happen to see at a cocktail party and they're like, hey, we kind of want to see this house. So you got to be ready to be out and about and network a lot.
Yeah. I like it. I like the fact that you tell people have 6 months in reserve and then just take the leap.
Yep.
Because like I said, I do have a lot of friends that still work full time and they have been doing it part time. And you're right. If you want to do it, then jump into it. But also I think the motivation behind it is different. So the fact that you mentioned have a why behind why you want to do it, I think is probably a big reason why a lot of them haven't taken that leap in terms of like doing it full time. And even as entrepreneurs too.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to really be available for clients if you're working full time.
Yeah.
And they'll get frustrated. It's hard, if it's your best friend, they're going to be patient with you, but it's going to be really hard to build a client database if you're not available on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors with trying to still work and build that business. You can't view it as a side hustle. It's got to be your career or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. This was really good. I know I've learned a lot. You said some things that nobody has said to me before. And so some things I'm going to go back and tell my husband and my other friends too, because it really gives me something to think about when I think about our home and what we want to do going forward. Before we end the show, I'm going to ask you a question I asked all my guests, Amy. Tell me some of the best advice you received from another woman.
This was actually just recently. And it's, kind of talking about, I was very lucky to have male mentors that pushed me, but we're not perfect. We're still evolving as a brokerage. And I had some opportunities to speak in front of the company and do some training, and I turned it down. And a colleague of mine really reminded me that in this evolution of female leadership, it's the male's job to make space for us, but it's our job to move in and take that space. So, and that's what we've kind of been working with the men in our company is like, men are just naturally, for better or worse, sort of demanding. Like they have no problem saying, this is what I want. Whereas women have this mentality of, or at least I did, keep your head down and do a good job and you'll be recognized.
Yes.
And so she said, we're asking these men to make space for us. Now it's our job to step into that space.
Yeah. Yes.
And so she said, we're asking these men to make space for us. Now it's our job to step into that space. So it really
Yes.
made me like, okay, every opportunity I get, I'm going to step into it and continue to make more space for female leadership.
I love that. You're right. It's their job to make it. It's our job to step into it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, that was so good. I love that. I love that. That is like, that resonates with me in so many levels. And I know it's going to resonate with the audience too, because if you think about it, like I said, with leadership as women, we don't see a lot of it in organizations. The last organization I worked for, it was very few. I think it was only one woman. That
Mm-hmm.
was two women, actually. One came in over as in the digital chief director, but you don't see a lot of women in leadership in corporate America. And it's so funny to me because this is 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still fighting that, like I said, that good fight to
Yeah.
see women, to put women in positions of power,
Yeah.
and be leaders in these organizations. And you're right, it goes down to our confidence, like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us have imposter
Exactly. Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah.
We feel like,
They believed in me to get up and speak in front of the company, and I did
yeah,
not. And
yeah.
honestly, that was part of what started this podcasting journey. I
Mm-hmm.
had a friend of mine who said, look, you never hear women speaking about being an investor, how to
Yes.
build a real estate portfolio, and she's like, you've done it. And she's like, I would feel so much better learning from a woman that I can relate to. It's way less intimidating. And that
Yes.
became my why to podcast. Like I want to empower people that think it's not for them or that it's too scary to
Mm-hmm.
just step in and do it. So that whole day was like a huge shift of like, I know what my responsibility is in making more space for women.
Yes.
And so it was a really powerful shift.
Ah, this has been a really good show. I
Good.
appreciate you so much for coming on. I have learned so much. I love the advice um that you gave. It was absolutely amazing. Like I said, it resonated with me. I'm never gonna forget it. You might
Good.
see
That
me
makes
start
me so
using it.
happy.
I might make sure I put the person who gave me this quote at the bottom. Make sure I don't just take it as my own, but I'm definitely gonna start using it and telling people about it, because I think it's something that we need to hear as women, to not be afraid to just go ahead and step up in that position.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Well, listen, guys, this is the Girl Take No podcast. I am Shawnee Sanders, and we will see you next time.